I really appreciated that you were someone who owns your faith in an industry where there's a lot of money and there's a lot of ego. It's really important to be really faith centered. And I didn't want to trust my learning with someone who didn't have that same mindset.
Today, I am so grateful to have an amazing guest with me who just broke in with one of the largest medical device companies in the world, came in well over $100,000, and is a mom of four, been married for 22 years, is a former veteran and an absolute hustler.
People out there that aren't willing to invest in some kind of coaching, some kind of program, you might not get it, especially if you're in a super competitive market.
To somebody right now who's watching, who maybe is a single mom, who maybe is a veteran, or maybe somebody who feels like they just can't win, or they've been losing the interview processes, or they don't have the sales experience, they don't have whatever it is. What's your advice to that person who's listening to this podcast right now? Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today I am so grateful to have an amazing guest with me, somebody who flew out here all the way from Dallas, Texas, and I know without a doubt you guys are going to learn so much. So, Cassandra, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I actually, from the moment we've met, I've kind of had a vision of this conversation. So it's like really cool to see it come to fruition.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Well, first off, I'm really excited about this conversation. I know a lot of people are going to love this conversation because what we're going to learn is more about you. You had a lot of ups and downs through this journey, but how your grit, how you kept showing up, just landed you with one of the top companies, which is a great space that you're in. Also, well over the $100,000 mark, right? Yes. And we had some talks, and we're going to go into the stories about that, of maybe some of the think bigger and all those aspects. But before we dive too far into that, can you guys just give us the quick background of who is Cassandra?
No, I feel like I've given this little intro spiel a few times, but I am, first and foremost, Christ follower, wife of 22 years. So boom, I can sell. Right? I've been closing for 22 years and still got the man. Okay. A mother of 4, 2 adults and 2 teenagers. So pray for me. I'm an Army veteran. Go Army, beat Navy. Those who know. And I'm also an avid roller skater, so a lot of people don't know that. On the quads, not on the inline. So think Usher at the Super Bowl, but not that good. So that's who I am personally. And then professionally, I come from a clinical background, over 10 years as a diagnostics, medical sonographer, and vascular technologist. I've worked in all areas of the hospital as well as the vascular lab. And that's where I really developed that strong passion for patient care. I always look at every patient, whether it's on the industry side or if it's on the clinical side, as if that is my relative, how would I want them cared for? Yep. And the same way I approach this business, like, if that is my relative, which we don't need to really go into it, but it really could be in my current position, it really could be a relative of mine. Would I want this used on them? Yes. And the answer has to be absolutely yes for me to partner with it. Yep. And I'm also a community volunteer. I volunteer at a pregnancy center in my community because my background is, before becoming a sonographer, I was just a little kid from Philly, grew up in a single parent home, struggled, raised on welfare in public housing, became pregnant at 16 years old, and ended up dropping out of high school, had to go back for my GED because I was taking care of my daughter, and that's what led me ultimately into going into the Army. But it's because of that experience that I volunteer with the pregnancy center in my community, because a pregnancy center was there for me when I felt like my life was over and that there was no hope. And so if I can just pour into other young women like me that find themselves unexpectedly pregnant and teach them the stuff that it's taken me decades to learn, learning about things like Pell Grants, things like FAFSA, community college, all these wonderful jobs you can get in the medical field, which is high demand, with less than a year of schooling that you could do off of a community college. You can go back, get your bachelor's degree paid for by the hospital, and have an awesome life for you and your child. So that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. Well, you guys can see why we're going to have such a fun conversation. A lot of great things and a great background. And one of the things that, you and I've had many conversations about is just your background of being a single mom. And then you went into the military. And can we just kind of talk about that real quick? Because again, my goal for everybody is not only just how do we break into medical device sales, but what they're going to see is the people behind the stories of breaking into medical device sales, because your grit started way before this course and way before this program, right? And so for us, like, just take us in there. You're 16, you're a mother, and like you're raising it as a single mom. Like, just give us a little insight of that journey and then what led you to go into the military.
I have a very unique experience in that I grew up both in my Pennsylvanians know there's Philly and then there's the rest of PA, right? So I grew up in Philadelphia, and then I was also living in Western PA in a very depressed town, steel country that was really depressed after NAFTA. And, most people kind of get boxed into that situation. You end up a baby mom or baby dad. Now the community is being ravaged by opioids. So like a very, very depressed area, and there's really nothing for teenagers to do except make babies, and that's what I did. And I've always been a little rebellious, and went for the bad boy. That wasn't a great decision, but it was a great decision because I did end up with my daughter. So God redeems all of our mistakes and brings blessings out of every arrow we make. But yeah, I found myself as like a single mom. And I just looked around me and I'm like, you know what? I'm breaking this curse. I don't want this to be my future. I don't want to look 16 years from now. I don't want my own daughter to be pregnant. My own mother was pregnant as a teenager. My grandmother had her children, started having children very young, as did my aunt. And so I'm like, okay, this is a generational curse and we're going to break it. And, what can I do? How can I get out of there? And there's always an Army recruiter hanging around in a quarter somewhere telling you you're going to get a great duty station. It didn't end up that way. But, he let me know. He's like, oh, yeah, we can, you can come in and, since you have a child, you won't get put overseas lies. But, and it was just an opportunity for me to kind of escape that path that I was on. Mm-hmm. So I remember going in, I took my ASVAB, I scored really high. I could have done pretty much anything in the military, but I was looking for a bonus because I was like poor. So I wanted a position that had a bonus. And this might give you a little insight to how I think. But I sat down with the recruiter when I was choosing my MOS, and they're like, well, there's two that have the higher bonus. There's 63 Bravo, which is a light wheel vehicle mechanic, or there's a cook. It's like, you're a girl, you should go for the cook. Oh no, I'm going to be a mechanic. I can absolutely do that. Now, in hindsight, it was better to be a cook because in the field you get to be in the warm tent with the food. But I'm not one to be told to stay in my lane, do what I'm told. And so that's how I ended up in the military. And in the Army, I went to, my first duty station was Uijeongbu, Korea, at Camp LaGuardia, 50 boat. Those who know. That actually launched my passion for medicine, which wouldn't manifest until later. But my aunt was a nurse. And I remember growing up thinking, wow, she's a nurse making $30,000 a year. If I could do that, I would be rich. That's how dirt poor I was, that like $30,000 a year was rich to me. And it's like, and I could help people and go into medicine. And, even from childhood, I had a conversation with my brother years ago when I first went into sonography, where he shared with me when I was trying to go back to school and figure out what I wanted to do with my life. He's like, well, why don't you go into medicine? You used to talk about being a doctor all the time. From the time I was 4 years old, I wanted to be a pediatric neurosurgeon. Very specific job for a 4-year-old, but that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. And, first full circle, now I'm helping surgeons, get good outcomes for patients. So I hope that kind of encompasses my background, how I ended up in the military. Yeah. Oh, most important part, met this really hot guy named Josh, okay? And he said, hey, you want to move to Texas? I'm like, absolutely, I'm done with snow. And so that's how,
Look at that.
got married, and he adopted my oldest daughter, and then we just kept popping them out. After your second child, it's like, what's one more? So we ended up with 4.
And 22 years later, here we go.
Still here.
Hey,
Yeah.
the one thing I'll just say to that story is a couple of things. Is number one is you just knowing that you didn't want to keep living a life that your family had lived. That's a very common thing that we see inside of our program, right? It was the same thing for me is, never came from an affluent background. The very blessing that I had was seeing other people be affluent and being able to work for those people or have friends that, did well. And the one thing I just say is like, it was kind of that switch of like, how, not that I can't have that, right? And I just want to encourage anybody. It's not that you can't have it. It's how do you have that? So I love that journey. And I just put that out there to someone as like, sometimes God's just asking you to go take a jump and it may not go the way you thought it was going to go, which will be a theme of how we talk about today. But now you went into the medical field, right? Give me a quick little snippet of what you were doing in the medical field and then how you had even heard about medical device sales.
Well, what's interesting is just prior to going into the medical field, I thought I was going to come out of the Army and be a mechanic. And then I discovered really quickly that they don't necessarily like girl mechanics unless you have a certain look. Like, there's no shade on anybody, but, I was literally told, we can't have pretty girls running around here distracting the men in our motor pool. So that was out. So for a good decade, I was a stay-at-home mom, just raising my babies, going crazy because I wasn't working because, I don't know, God put something in me that just was like,
Go do.
Shout out to all the stay-at-home moms,
Yeah.
because that is important work. It almost killed me, okay? But there's always been a drive for me to do something more. And I tried different side hustles, and I kind of got bit by a sales bug a little bit, got stuck in a little bit of MLM for a minute until I discovered, oh, okay, this isn't actually real.
Yeah.
But then I ended up in doing sonography because there was a program. It was like about 18 months. Actually, it was a little over 18 months because I was a medical assistant first and then went straight into sonography school.
Yep.
And I just hustled like crazy. Like, I am not one to let others choose for me. And so I, while other students struggled through school, I had job offers before I had even graduated because I would show up early to my clinical sites. I would stay late. Anything that the sonographers needed, did they need more gel? Did they need more towels? Hey, I will go and do the transport for the patient.
Yep.
Like, you don't have to go get them. I'll go get them. I'll go do it.
Yep.
Right? And I was just always there, ready to work, ready to hustle. And I had like offers straight out of there. I knew that I couldn't be a sonographer forever. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to end up working for GE. And then oddly enough, I never ended up in applications at all. The first company to reach out to me was a company in the vascular space because I was working in a vein clinic at that time, and they were selling a product to treat varicose veins. I'm like, oh, okay. And so that's basically where I broke in initially, was as a clinical specialist with that company. Was there for about 11 months, and then COVID hit, and then they made the decision to just get rid of the majority of the clinicals.
Yep.
And that was really tough. And I had a lot of bitterness and anger in my heart towards them because of that.
Yep.
I actually resisted interviewing with them because of that.
One thing I want to just touch base is that something you guys just heard is a couple things. Number one, you were able to break in already before you joined us, right? You had already done it, but you just didn't have the greatest experience, right? So we had to work on some of that. Number two is one thing that you just said that I want a lot of people to hear is you had a bad experience and you had some bitterness towards them.
Yes.
And that bitterness wasn't just towards that company. There were some other things we went through the process, but we will talk about today is like that actually is what kind of hurt you throughout this process. And it's what we kind of worked on in a big way because people think all we do is help you guys go through medical device sales, but it's actually transforming you guys in so many other ways.
Yes.
So you can go have success inside of this industry, right? You made that transition, right? Life happened, some things happened, and then you end up joining our program, right?
Well, so before joining your program, I broke back into the industry. So it's a really interesting story. And I think we should go into this part
Yeah.
too, because I had a lot of success with that company. 3 years, 2 President's Clubs, totally crushed it.
Yep.
And then from there, moved on into a startup situation.
Yes.
And in that startup situation, that's what really broke me, because here I had hustled, I'd worked hard, I'd proven myself. I was a full line rep. I had my own territory, and in 6 months, gone.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, well, I don't even have enough quota bearing experience to even be taken seriously in these interviews. I need help. And I started researching, and I was looking at different programs and different stuff online, and it was a lot of woo-woo stuff. Listen, if you do the woo-woo, that's your business. Okay. But I really appreciated that you were someone who, owned your faith and wasn't ashamed to share it. And in an industry where there's a lot of money and there's a lot of ego, it's really important to be really faith-centered. And I didn't want to trust my learning with someone who didn't have that same mindset. And that's what ultimately led to the program. But
awesome.
yeah, I was like a broken down girl, because my ego was deflated, because I'm like, I have a P club and I'm going to prove all these people wrong, all my haters. I had a lot of attitude.
Yeah.
I had a lot of attitude.
Hey, we all have that. We're in sales. We all got a little bit there.
bit.
But a couple things to that is, number one, you experienced what many people in a startup do, right? And I just want to share this to everyone out there, because people can come to big companies. They can go to small companies. There are a lot of small companies and startups that do great. There's also, just percentage-wise, they're going to run out of money, right? Not every single startup actually goes. And so I just want to put that out there, because a lot of times there are a lot of opportunities for startups, but it's because it's a gamble. You are rolling the dice, right? Because I can just sit here and tell you, as somebody who's worked for a startup and people have seen it, there's a lot of times in a startup world, and I work with a lot of people in startups. And then let me just say this, it's out of just med device sales. This is tech space, software, everywhere, right? They will go, and the job of the CEO or those companies is to tell you the promise and the dream. But that's what they're hoping happens. Let's just make that really clear. That's, of course, because it's also why they've gotten where they are today. But what you have to understand is there are many times, like one of my buddies who came from the software space, they gave him equity, he was all in, all the stuff, and then he gets on a call and they're like, we're running out of money, you're out. And so then they have to choose who's they keep, because they thought they were going to get bigger investments. They did a Series A raise or whatever they were, and they just didn't get the investors they needed. They didn't get the money. So I just want to put that out there for everybody. It's not that all startups are bad, but it's like that is usually why you get paid a little bit more. There's more stock options, there's more opportunity, because you don't know if you're going to be around next 6 months.
Right.
For you, one of the things that I appreciate about you so much is your drive. And I appreciate your pit bullness. Yeah. And why I say that is because you and I always related on that part, was like I would always talk about as when I was working through a lot of my stuff, is like, I'm known as the guy who is a pit bull, put my back against the wall, I'm going to fight my way out of it, right? And that serves you to a certain point in life. One of the things I just want to talk to real quick and let you explain a little bit more is, you and I got on multiple conversations that were longer than 10 minutes. So let's just say that. And many of the times it was, somebody treated you a certain way, somebody said something to you a certain way, some company treated you with disrespect. But we had to work on a lot of the previous disrespect that was compounding all the current disrespect.
Right.
And we had to actually talk about a lot of the times when people would dismiss you, say stuff, you always felt like you had to defend yourself.
Yes.
Right. And one of the biggest things I had to come, and we had conversations about several times, was, who cares? Let it go. Because it doesn't serve you. And I just want to state this, and then I want to hear your perspective of it, because you're the other person on that call. But it was like, we're focusing on the person who just broke up with us, or we're focusing on it, and that's just taking away from the current situation or the future situation. You're working on the ex that doesn't want you anymore, right? And we had to have those talks, because what most people miss is they think medical device sales is so tactical, but it's not so much tactical as that there is a lot of mental. What do you believe about yourself? How do you show up? And are you oversharing? Are you undersharing? Like all these things. And so can you just kind of speak to that? Because for you, once we actually had the breakthrough, you got hired pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
But
crazy fast.
Yeah.
And even though I got a little mad at you because you told me to stop crying, I'm like, oh, excuse me. He's like, hey, stop crying right now. And I'm like, I'm not even really crying. I'm just mad crying because I don't cry. I'm a soldier, I don't like cry like that. But there's no crying in baseball. There's no crying in med device, right? But for me, the biggest breakthrough was, yeah, I'm a fighter. I do have a tendency to, defend myself.
Mm-hmm.
Part of it, and just to be straight up, is that people that look like me don't usually end up here.
Yep.
I actually looked up the statistics, and in med device, 3.8% of med device reps are Black out of 13-14% of population.
Yep.
And out of that 3.8%, less than half are Black women.
Yep.
So I'm already a minority of a minority going into this situation.
Yep.
And a lot of times, yeah, you do butt up against people who don't think you belong in this room.
100%.
They think that, you must be a DEI hire, even though you're literally in the role because of nepotism. But, we won't go there. We won't go there today. This little fighter still comes out a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I think the big breakthrough for me is I'm getting upset over people I don't even like, over companies I have no interest in, and stuff that I wouldn't ever want to be used on myself, let alone a loved one or a patient. But I'm bugging because of this fear of man, because I'm actually caring so much about what people think.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that say you're the author of your destiny. But for me, Christ is the author of my destiny. He is the author and finisher of my faith. So if somebody tells me no, even if they tell me no rudely, how am I going to be mad about something God did for me? And that was like a big turning point for me, that I'm like, you know what? I dodged a bullet.
Yep. Come on.
God protected me from that.
Something you can't see.
Something I can't. Seeing something happen 6 months down the line, like, whoa, that wouldn't have been great. Not that God couldn't have redeemed it even if I ended up there, but he was merciful enough to spare me from having to go through the struggle, the pain, always being second guessed, right? Because if someone doesn't, because me, I came prepared. Like I maybe a little bit over prepared. As soon as I learned I had an interview, I had a business plan ready the next day. Like,
and how many times did we say, don't do that?
Listen, but also I wasn't working, so I had to do something. So I'm like, okay, my business plans became pretty freaking awesome. Okay, but
amazing.
I was like, as soon as I'm like, okay, you're going to okay, great. Let's go ahead and get this business plan made up, and let's get all our research and know everything and everything. And it ended up how it was supposed to end up.
100%. After helping thousands of people break into medical device sales, we've received a lot of messages of asking for more personalized coaching and mentorship. Our average member breaks in 8.5 weeks at over $105,000. And if you're really interested and really motivated to break into medical device sales, you can click the link below or check out our website at newtomedicaldevicesales.com. See all the testimonial videos of people breaking in with Medtronic at over $170,000, at Abbott $175,000 as a full line rep. So if you're really excited and also motivated and wanting personalized coaching and mentorship, then go and click the link below, schedule a call, and we'll get you where you want to go. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
I showed up how I was supposed to show up, and God did the rest.
All right, let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that big point right there, because that was our biggest challenge that we had to overcome, right? Is a couple of things. Number one, I want you all to hear when she started crying and I told her to stop crying. That's not me just being mean and all the stuff. It's because I've done this with enough people, and many people let emotions or run their life. Then we don't think logically, we just think emotionally, which then doesn't help us in the actual situation. And this is just the reason I'm sharing this with everyone is of years of coaching people. And if I didn't feel like it was the right time or thing to say, I would have let crying happen, right? But I share that because one of the biggest conversations we continuously happen was, A, don't take the disrespect of people maybe you don't even want to work for or be a part of. But number two is stop trying to guess what they want to hear. That was the biggest thing. And that's what we see a lot of you all do is you're always trying to guess. First off, these are salespeople. They can read you like a book. They know if you're telling the truth. They know if you're lying. They know and what would happen, just so you guys know, because we would help Cassandra go through this process is when she was trying to guess what they wanted, she would overshare. And when she would overshare, she would actually not even hear their original question in the way that they needed to have it answered. And a lot of times she like, I'll never forget, you were going for a full line rep role and you kept bringing up your clinical role. And I was like, we're making ourselves not look like the full line rep role here, right? And so the reason I share that to you all is because once you let go, and we always talk about this. I remember being in Vegas and talking to one of the guys, and he's now unemployed, and he's like, he was in med device sales and he's trying to get another job. And I just remember I said, you're doing this. Once you do this, watch your life change. Yeah. Right. And I share that, believe what you guys want to believe. So I just always post that. But for us, we believe in Christ. And why I say that is because what I've had to learn in my own life is when I try to grip the future, when I try to grip control of what's supposed to happen, when I am trying to make it happen, I feel stressed, I feel anxiety, I feel like, oh my gosh, I feel exhausted. And every time I get to my breaking point and I have to stop and I finally do this because I'm so tired, I feel peace, I feel happiness, I feel light. And then things happen. And that's exactly what started happening for you.
It's exactly what happened.
Because you stopped doing this. But let's talk about this. I got the opportunity because there was a great event by the Mad Device Rep, shout out Mad Device Rep, that was out in Dallas. And so I flew out there with Eddie, with Rep Prep AI that we're partnered with, shout out Eddie. We came out there and I got to meet you in person. And we got to have this conversation, which was super special because for you, all I had kept hearing for the last several months was 150, 150, 150. I had to come in at 150. I got it. That's my goal. And do you remember what I said to you about the 150?
You confirmed something my husband said. It's like, what if you're thinking too small? What if God has more for you? And you're, just consistently going for something, going for roles that are less than, and sometimes in those processes, it became very obvious. I had one hiring manager say that, oh, I don't know, I think this is going to be too low for you. And you're just going to like leave us in 6 months. And It's like, bro, I need a job. I don't even care about what you're saying right now. Okay. I got bills to pay,
but you still stuck with it. That's the one thing I wanted to say is you weren't like rolling in the dough, had stuff like this. There was other life factors that were stressful,
right?
But you still trusted the process,
Absolutely.
Right? With that piece, I just wanted to share for everyone to hear is because you kept telling me 150 and I remember sitting you down. I said, hey, I know you want 150, but maybe God's trying to show you you're worth way more than 150. Yeah. Maybe he's trying to do in your life something that you can't even see. And I share that as somebody who's had that exact same thing happen in my life. When I tried to keep doing this and keep doing this, it wasn't, and then was finally like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even have imagined where I'm at. We started having that conversation. You started doing instead of this and like this, ready to punch anything that's going to come in and say anything. Yeah, right? I got you. But once we got away from this and you started doing this and being like, hey, you knew what to do, right? Yeah. Because here's the biggest thing I want everyone to hear. Cassandra knew what to do. Like you just heard, Cassandra knew not to bring a business plan and fully commit all the way into these people and these companies, right? First day, second day, but you still did. Because of the neediness of I need a job, I need all this stuff. But because of this, we're trying to control. But the moment we finally had that really good breakthrough conversation, which you remember and I remember, we did this to this. And then what was the text message I sent you?
You said, watch what happens in 2 weeks. And I don't know if you're a prophet or something, because literally my very first interview with my current hiring manager was 2 weeks to the day, which was like way crazy. Because I went back and I'm like scrolling. I'm like, wait. Has it been exactly 2? Oh my gosh, it's been 2 weeks. Okay, God, I see what you're doing. Not only was I attached to the 150, but I was so attached to full line rep only. That's all I want to do. I'm gonna prove all these people wrong. I'm gonna get in. I'm gonna get a full line rep role. I'm gonna show them, right? That's like, you heard it when I went into the military. I became a mechanic because I was going to show them that a girl can be a mechanic. What a cook. Yeah. What is this, 1950? I can do more than cook. I can make a mean pineapple upside down cake, mind you.
Come on.
But, there's this, and that's where the fighter, I think, kind of like backfired, because I was limiting myself, that it was about a role. It was about a title. It was about proving myself to people, proving that, I can be a full line rep. I can sell, I can do this, and I can do that. Now, I'm on a clear path to do that anyhow, oddly enough. But even going into the clinical role, I lost my first love with this industry in the first place, and that was the mission. And so I was looking at and interviewing for full line rep roles for work that I really would not have been passionate about. I would not have been passionate about a commodity. I'm a stenographer. I want to save lives. Like that's in me. That's like I want to see lives transformed. I'm very like mission focused. And if my mission is just to bump someone else's contract out so that, I can get my stuff in, and there's no shame in that work, because that work is important, because those commodities are needed in the medical field. But for me, I had to have a mission. And when I finally let go, because I got very close, and I believe God did protect me with a couple of those full line rep roles, because I know for sure there was one that I wouldn't even made quota, because nobody's making quota. But now I get to be a part of something that really saves and changes people's lives. And be careful what I say, but earning significantly more than I would have in that full line rep role.
Come on. There it is.
So it's like,
Yep.
maybe God knows what he's doing, and maybe I need to like stop bugging and chill, and and let things happen the way that they're supposed to happen.
Yep.
Not harbor bitterness in my heart. I remember one day I was like just sending out texts, and I'm like, I know these people are going to think I'm weirdos, but there were two people in particular that I felt very upset with, and they didn't know I felt upset. And one of them in particular was a believer, and I reached out to him, and I let him know, hey, I was really hurt by what you said, and the feedback you gave, because that is not who I am at all. And I don't know what I did or what I was saying or how I was acting that allowed me to come across like that. But at the end of the day, God did what he needed to do. So why would I harbor bitterness at you? And I it's like, I'm asking you for forgiveness for this bitterness that I've been holding in my heart towards you. And when I just started just releasing that stuff, everything got easier. And I did what you said. I got me a job.
It's crazy what happens. And guys, I just want to have you guys hear this one. When I said, hey, 2 weeks, watch what happens, and then you got in the interview process in 2 weeks. The reason I just say that is that's, again, not going back to, I'm this crazy psychic and all the stuff.
Jacob Damas.
Yeah. It's not that. It's, I've just done it with so many people. And this is what people don't understand is, like we have the strategies. We know exactly what to do to have people go. But what most people miss is normally it's getting people out of their own ways. And once they get out of their own ways, that's why we can have, we just had one of our guys hired in 14 days, right? But he was just able to do A, B, C, D, plus the opportunity and the situation all worked out at the same time, right? And that doesn't happen for most people, right? And so I just say that to every single person is so many people right now on this journey are beating themselves up or being like, oh my gosh. A lot of times I just want to put this out there. A, it's because of you doing this, trying to control your own expectations, all the stuff. But it's also, I want to just say where a lot of this comes from is a lot of times it's because people don't know what to do. And then they have the insecurity and they know they're doing something wrong, but they're not going to figure out what that wrong thing is. They're too proud, they're too prideful to go ask for help. And I just want to say this, they're too cheap. They don't want to pay money, which just understand, I just want to put this to help the world go around. If you want to make money, you got to spend money, right? No money, scared money, don't make no money, right? Like we share that because everyone tries to keep like, oh, I'm going to hold all this. I'm going to hold my $15 to myself and hopefully I can get 25, right? But you realize that once you actually spend it, you work on it, you actually commit harder.
Well, there's a parable about that.
Yep. We could keep it going. We could change this into a church podcast,
But like what's so important about like investing in yourself and in the program, right, is that I could take that money and I could put it into Apple. Or I could put it into me. Who's going to hustle harder for me or Apple? Well, definitely me. I have a unique ability to kind of, I wouldn't say read the tea leaves, but I'm really good at strategy and pattern recognition. And I noticed that this market is different and med device is different. Both of my previous roles in med device, my first one, 0 med device experience, recruiter just hit me up. My second one, I had a little bit of experience, but I was a stenographer and recruiter hit me up. Post-COVID, those days are done. It's a different world. And if you do not know what's interview 1, what's interview 3, what's a final, what's a field ride, if you don't know what to expect, if you don't get out there and network, especially now with AI, there's a, you know, we can maybe cut this out, but there's like a whole lawsuit right now with Workday because of yeeting people's applications because of AI.
Yeah.
So it's just not, it's not the same market. So
No.
you need a coach. I have a pretty good resume, and you know, most of it was personal, but even in this market, it's a struggle. So like people out there that aren't willing to invest in some kind of coaching, some kind of program, you might not get it. Like
It's challenging.
It's a lot, especially if you're not willing to relocate, especially if you're in a super competitive market. Like
Yeah.
my market is probably one of the most competitive markets
Yep.
in the country. For just to give you an idea, for an entry level associate role, someone will be a full line rep in another state, consistently hitting their quota, and will come to Dallas, relocate, and compete for that entry level role just to be in Dallas.
Yep.
That's who you're up against.
100%.
So you got to have a strategy. You have to have a plan. You have to know how to play the game.
And that's what most people miss. We talk about this. You guys know this, and it's why you guys all invest in yourself. But why I just want to put this out there for anybody that's listening is because you all think you're just going up against other people from ADP Enterprise. You think you're just going up against another nurse. You think you're going, and what you guys don't understand is when you go to a big company, one of these massive top 50 companies, you have people who are already working at a company, like let's just say a Medtronic, trying to go to a J&J. They're already making that jump, or they're willing to make that, or they're at a smaller company and they're willing to go take an entry level role at a bigger company. And so you guys aren't just going up against other people that maybe have the same background. You're going up against more qualified individuals who have a better resume, who have more experience, who actually have hit quotas, all the et cetera. And that's still just not enough, even if you are that applicant. We have people beat out people who came from the industry all the time
Yep.
and do it every single day. And so it's just, are you doing the right things when you need to do it? So let's talk about it. You went through a lot of interview processes throughout this journey, right? And there was a lot of weird things that happened.
There was a lot, and but can I just give you a shout out? I went through 21. I went back and counted it. 21 interview processes. Now all I need is one. Shout out Better Call Saul. Those who saw the show know what I'm talking about. But I got 21 interview processes just from what I learned in the course. That doesn't happen. People fight to get in 1 or 2 maybe. But I consistently got in those interviews because I studied the program. I had my strategy. I followed the plan, and I got in that. So I just wanted to jump in there and shout that out because, yeah, I got into 21.
I appreciate it. And that, just so you guys know, this is why we can get people an interview process very quickly. We do have it figured out. Now, one thing I just want to say is most people will be like, well, Jacob, Cassandra, you had 21. Why didn't you win 21? And let me just sit here and say, it was going back to what we just said. Because for a lot of those, there is this. And then guess what happens when we did this? Yep. Then it was, whoo, now we're way over the 150 and we're doing life great.
And a lot of those, like I mentioned earlier, it just wasn't a fit.
Yeah, 100%.
At all. And in the end of the day, I ended up where I was supposed to.
100%.
And I had to go through that to, I believe that God had me go through that to kind of like rediscover, okay, what's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Who am I supposed to be serving with my gifts and talents? And I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be.
And you now feel 100% fulfilled. You feel confident. You know you're at the right spot.
Absolutely.
Right? And I say that to everybody because it was the same thing for me when I took the full line rep with Medtronic. I went through 14 interview processes in that and got ghosted by VPs and all the stuff went through it. And it was during COVID and everything. But I shared that because all of that got me ready to go land the full line rep role at 25 years old. Right? Yep. And if I hadn't done the 14 previous, you all think, oh, if I just get the one opportunity that's my favorite, I'll just land it. It's like, no, what did you do for the groundwork? Because every single one that wasn't the right fit took you closer to the right fit and paid you now way more than the wrong fits would have.
Absolutely.
And now it's like, okay, it goes through it. But that's where I just want to encourage somebody. When you do this and you start letting go, it starts helping. Now, let's just talk about this. Not going into too much detail of the program and all that aspect, but what do you feel helped you get those 21 interviews and be able to go and get a job at over 150,000?
Absolutely one of the coaches. I have to give her the shout out because absolutely I was on every single freaking call. I listened back to every recording. One, there's a personality alignment there too.
Yep.
And I'm like, yes, that's yes. But
No, just real quick, no surprise why she's a top performer at top companies as well.
None at all, and that was the biggest one for me because anytime I would have a bad day, and this is an encouragement for everyone who's, actively in the program and who's going to come into the program. If you're having a bad day, things aren't going well, maybe you just got a rejection and you have a chance to do like a mock call, raise your hand and volunteer. Every single time I did that. Like I would, I'd have to turn off the camera because I was misting, because I don't cry. I was misting a little bit. And like, you know what? I'm going to do my question. I'm going to practice a star answer. I'm going to do it. I pushed myself to do it because I'm like, you know what? I got to shake myself out of this funk.
Yep.
And the best way to do it is to just like jump in and, start to polish my answer. Get all the marbles out here so that when it's showtime and when I'm in the actual interview, I could perform well and do well. But it was like every single time I did that I would hop on a call and ask my dumb question or volunteer for a mock question or whatever, just open my mouth and speak. Something would change. And I can't quite explain it, but I would just leave that call just feeling like, all right, I got this. I can keep going. I can keep doing this.
Yep.
I got it. I mean, there's a never say die in me anyhow, so I wouldn't have quit anyhow. But just that propelling to like, okay, I'm gonna dig in deeper and I'm gonna hustle even harder tomorrow.
Well, and that's one thing I just want to say. I'm so thankful and grateful to the great coaches we do have and part of the team, and it's why we love it and why I love it as well, is being able to, we see your guys' future before you do. And I don't say that because, again, going back to, we're not prophesizing, we're not being a psychic. It's because we've just done it with so many people before you. And we know where you guys are at. We've seen the patterns. We know what we need to do. And we just need to get you where you want to go. But again, we just talked about this on all of our podcasts. It's, most people think of what if it goes wrong, but what if it keeps going right? And for you, we talk about it inside the program, right? Getting you guys to do the job to get the job so you can go be successful in the job. But what do we talk about is don't let the roller coaster of sales or life get too high and don't let it get too low, right? How do we be more steady? And so when you do have a bad day or you do get rejected or whatever it is, jump back on there. Let's get you back into where you need to go, because Cassandra being Cassandra is where she needs to be. Right. And that's one thing I just want to say is what I am so grateful and so thankful for is, like, I say this all the time. If all we did was get people hired, we wouldn't have half the testimonials that we did. Right. We want to have people fly out here to come and want to be on a podcast. It's because we focus on the person and being with you all. And we see the best part of my life is getting to see your potential before you fulfill your potential, and then watch you all go fulfill your potential. And then you guys go even tenfold after that. And it's the absolute best. And I just want to say, I'm grateful to have you in the program. I'm so grateful that you got to be with our coaches, because we do have amazing coaches. And I will always say that. I will always say we have the best coaches without a doubt. We know that they've actually performed in the industry. They worked for the top companies. We know that they still crush it. And we also know that they actually care about human beings, right? And I want everybody to hear this, is what people miss about our program the most is we only want top performers. We only want people who are going to come in and make 150 or plus. We only want people who are wanting to come in and make an impact, because selfishly, it only makes our program look better.
Right.
Number one. But number two, it's around that community that we talk about. You have friends from the community.
Yes.
You get to see people that are now in the industry. Now you guys
Shout
are all.
out Paulina. I'm wearing the Mac Red today. She told me straight up, she's like, and that I love our community because, one, it's such a massive resource that, like, you have people in the program who, people who were nurses, doctors, chiropractors, people from all types of specialties that you can, like, reach out to someone else in the program and say, hey, I have an interview coming up with this. What's some good resources for me to look at for this? Or, hey, you come from respiratory, or hey, you actually have a sales background. How do you answer these star questions,
Yep.
right? And just like, the friendships we've formed,
Yep.
shout out to Cleveland. I know she'll appreciate me giving her city the shout out because everybody dumps on Cleveland, so I'll give Cleveland a shout out. But yeah, the community was huge. The coaches were huge. Office hours was always, always awesome. I would always try to ask a question, even if I couldn't think of one. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna ask a question.
You did.
I'm getting something. I made this investment. I'm getting something out of this today. Doggone it.
And you did. Every time.
Every single time. I'm like, listen, I gotta ask something. I'm like, okay, listen. And I remember one where I was like, I'm getting tired of these rude people. And I think I did take things personally a little bit, and I came to realize that part of that it's not so much that, hey, I'm entitled to be treated with respect, but it's that I strive to live my life a certain way, to model how Christ is with other people. And when I don't get that back, I'll be feeling away. But I'm like, hey, not everyone belongs to him. And even those that do belong to him have bad days. So forgive them and move on.
Yep.
So.
And so just so you know, what I want to say to that is a couple things. Number one is you will always see us as like how I am in the program, how I am on the podcast. I'm the same way in the program. And I'm a very straight shooter. I will let you guys know if you're not doing the right things. And the reason I say that to everyone that ever watches this is because, again, going back to, I had things happen in my life where I just learned if I just would have maybe just said it how it was, instead of taking years of time to have problems, we would have got it over with in 5 minutes. And somebody may be upset with me even for a day, but then eventually they'll come around and they're like, oh, now I understand why you said that. Or we might need to get on a call and I need to explain why I said it, right? But the reason we also do that is because we also share to do the job to get the job, and we make sure we have really ready to go candidates. A surgeon does not care about your feelings.
Right.
You show up late, they don't care. You don't bring something, they don't care. Because again, and I said this with Dr. Blackwood, if you guys haven't seen that podcast, you can go watch it. But like, you forget something as the rep, that doctor now has a lawsuit capability on his hand or her hand. And they don't care about your feelings because you're not paying their lawyer fees. And so the reason I share that is because for us, that is why in the program we are so direct. Because it's not just about, hey, we want to get you guys the results, because we know if we just say, please do this, right, do it the right way, all the stuff. Number two, we also know is we can literally tell you 18 times to do something and people still might not do that. So at some point we might have to just say a little louder, or we might change the language and verbiage just a little bit so it smacks, it hits that time, right? But we also do this because we want you guys to know is it's why we continuously have Rookie of the Years, President Club winners, associates go to full line reps right away, people breaking it out well over 150 and going where they want to go, is because we are like, hey, this is what it is. And one of the things I just want to just touch on, and this is why Cassandra has grown so much and I've loved our relationship and seen where you've grown as a person, is because I knew when I would say things that rubbed you the wrong way in certain ways. But what you just said is I would have to go reflect on things. I had to go see, why was this bothering me?
Yep.
Why is another person on what they said, why is that bothering me so much? And that, just so you guys know, is why I'm the most proud as we sit here today, because that was your biggest holdback, was you cared about John off of whatever company saying something to you. And it's like, who cares what John says? Because John probably don't even like John.
No, and
right?
I didn't like him. And that was what the wildest part was. It's like, I'm like, bro, like, why am I bugging about these? And it goes back to like, I got hung up so much on like trying to prove myself that I started to lose myself. Right? Dropped a bar there.
Yep. Come on.
I became so wound up in, because let's be real, it's a little bit of a boys club.
Yep.
So it's like, and I also came from a male dominated profession in the military. So I'm like, I know how this works.
Yep.
I know I have to work harder to prove myself, but it's a little bit different here. Here, I'm bringing my talents and my skills to you.
Yep. 100%.
I have value. And if you can't, I'm like, listen, everyone who missed it, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I already told the Lord I'm not going to do it. But I know that I finally started to recognize who I actually am.
100%.
The way I would crush it no matter where I landed.
Yep.
And if they didn't catch the vision,
That's okay.
that's okay, because I have somewhere else to go. And I guess I will see you competing in the OL.
Yep, exactly. Well, like, I want to say a couple of things. Number one is what you just said is right before that, and I think this is going to help. You came from places where you always had to prove yourself. And this whole time I kept saying, please stop trying to prove yourself.
Yep.
Right? Because that's why you would overshare. Because guess what? I had to do that. I've gone through that. That's why I can share that. But you kept oversharing. You would go through it because you thought you had to prove yourself. And we talked about it as, again, now you're like, hey, when it changes that, do you have to prove yourself to you're just confident? And what we talk about, you don't need every single one. You just need one.
Yep.
But we bring it back to dating, because when I talk dating, it hits for everyone apparently. But when I talk business, it doesn't make any sense. But this is why I always brought it back to dating is you're not going to marry every single person that you go out on a date with.
Right.
Let's hope not, right? And the reason I just share that is because what happens is you're going to go out on dates with people and they're not a good fit. You can be great on paper together, and then you go grab a coffee and you're like, awkward conversation, didn't really like the vibe of whatever it was. And the reason I just share that is once you realize you by yourself, no matter who the other person is, no matter who the other company is, no matter what, when you realize you are good enough, you're going to go find someone who sees value in you, and they see value in you. Right? You see value in them, they see value in you, and that's what makes a relationship. But I want to just put this out there for somebody, as many of you are just chasing somebody to get validation, to prove yourself, to make yourself feel good. And I'm just going to sit here and say this, I'm not a therapist, but if you're doing that here, you might be doing that in other situations in your life, and you might be looking at it and you're like, oh my gosh. And why I'm sitting here telling you is why we teach so much about confidence. We do mindset, we do all the things, because if you aren't confident with you, if you don't believe that you're a great candidate, if you don't believe you're worth $150,000, and I don't mean just say that and then you're like, well, no, I am. No, actually truly believe it, because you've done the work, that you know that nobody worked harder than you, that you know at 150 grand or more, you are an absolute steal to a company and they're getting you on such a big discount, then you'll start getting these jobs and you trust it. But most of you don't do that. Most of you are always trying to prove yourself. Oh my gosh, I'm making a business plan on the first date when we said don't do that 17 times, because you're trying to prove that you're good enough. And once you realize you are good enough, you realize you have the skills. You learn how to articulate those skills. You learn how to show up. You learn to start doing the work instead of just telling everybody what you're going to do. And then you carry that confidence into the interview processes, and then you're talking to a bunch of different companies at the same time, which then creates FOMO, and then creates how we speed processes up with a company that never takes 2 to 3 weeks to hire, right. And we got you hired there, and you didn't even put your resume in until they wanted to send you the offer letter, which just broke a bunch of people's minds. What do you mean? I don't just apply? Like, it's again going back to, if you don't know how to play the game, you're not going to win the game. And most of you are just trying to be desperate and chase anything that will just look at you. And that's why you have no interviews.
Which is crazy, because like when you bring it back to dating, I'm like, and I was never a pick me. Back in my day, back in my day, that was never me. But I think I reached a point of, when I first came to the program, of just like complete brokenness, because it really does something to your confidence to finally say, I've arrived, I've achieved it, and then to lose it all overnight, and then have tied so much of your identity to like your performance, and to just kind of like, this whole process was just building me back to who I was supposed to be. Not the Philly girl trying to prove herself, but someone who has intrinsic value, who has talents, who has gifts, who has skills, who has a drive that will crush it for any company, and just finding that person again and going into it different this time. Because this time going in, I'm unfreaking stoppable.
Come on.
Now. Like,
Come on.
Watch out. I'm totally unstoppable, because now I'm walking into it not trying to prove myself, but just trying to be myself. That was the biggest thing, because I tend to be a little, I've said it a million times now, but I am like Army. So I'm extremely squared away, buttoned up, professional, and at one point, I believe it was either on office hours or on a call with one of the coaches, where it's like, hey, and it could have been actually a rep who was like really awesome to me that I networked with. It's like, hey, you have already proven yourself. Just chill and be yourself.
Yep.
It's like,
Well, I think I said that to you every office hours for about
yes,
3 months.
indeed.
But the one thing I just want to say to you is like, again, it's been truly amazing to watch your transformation and knowing that this is just the beginning, right? Because again, take the career part out of it. Just in life, I watch you show up with way more lightness. I show up with bigger smiles. I don't see you carry the anxiety that you were before. And that's one thing is, like you said, you're not here to prove yourself, because the thing about you, Cassandra, is you're going to go do the work. You know that you're going to go and put in the preparation. You know, that's why we know you're going to be successful. And just so you know, that's why we know all the people we produce are going to be successful. We ain't guessing. We don't think that it's going to happen. We've shown you guys, here's the blueprint. This is what you need to do. And this is what you do in the program. Here's how it translates to the industry. Do the exact same thing. Watch what happens. And that's why I know for a fact that you're going to go be successful in this industry. So first off, I'm excited for that. And I can't wait to watch and be a part of that journey and hear all the wins that you have. But what I want to ask now, just as we wrap up, is to somebody right now who's watching, who maybe is a single mom, who maybe is a veteran, or maybe somebody who feels like they just can't win, or they've been losing the interview processes, or they don't have the sales experience, they don't have whatever it is. What's your advice to that person who's listening to this podcast right now?
Well, my first piece of advice is always you have access to the creator of everything. So maybe go have a chat with him, get to know him, trust him, and then just get your butt to work. Get to work, do what you know to do. If you don't know what to do, go find who knows what to do, learn how to do it, and do it with the spirit of excellence. Whatever your hand finds to do it with all of your might. Absolute favorite Bible verse. Just do the work. I actually had a conversation with my hiring manager at our first mid-year meeting. Popped up a little sooner than I expected. So I had to get the shapewear going because I was still a little chubby from not working. But we had a conversation, and the thing he shared with me was what you always say about doing the job to get the job. He knew I was the right person for the job because there was a little gap in my experience, and I addressed it immediately. And I won't go into it because you got to pay for that. I'm sorry. But I knew what to do, and I did it. And that's what my advice would be. Trust God, do the work, find out who knows how to do what you need to do, and do it. Because listen, ain't no games in this market right now. Mm-hmm. This market is no joke. Competition is high.
Yep.
Companies are slowing down with their hiring, and every week with this guy, people are breaking in. There's a reason for that. You can't leave your fate to just randomly applying into AI, and maybe you get lucky and talk to the right person on the phone. Do you even know how to talk to these people? You know, these are 6-figure earners, top performers in their industry. Do you even know how to have a conversation or hold a conversation with them? Mm-hmm. These are things you need to know. And so I think it's a little bit of a longer answer, but that would be my advice.
No, and I appreciate that. And it's, again, you're so right. And I hope you guys can just go back and listen to that, because you are right. Like when you said, do everything with the spirit of it, like excellence, it's always just made sense to us, right?
Right.
Most people, they don't know that, but I just want to say that's why I know you're going to be so successful. You've always been coachable. Even just like myself, I have this talk. Sometimes when I get feedback, I might not like it the first 30 minutes, right? But then the more you go implement it, watch what happens, and you've continued to be coachable. You have the spirit of excellence. You work hard. Literally, you flew out to fly right back today. Like most people would never do that. And you just have a hustle that most people will never understand. And that's why I just want to say I'm so proud of you. And just so you guys know, like the market is changing, but it's what we do every day. Like Cassandra said, it's like, we ain't guessing. Like we literally do this every day. And it's like, we work with these medical device companies. We know what they're looking for, but most of you guys don't even know the difference between interviews 1, 3, 5. Like we said, most of you guys don't even know what to have on your resume. Most of you don't even know what to say if you even got on a call with a hiring manager. And that's the problem. And this is what I just want to end on is most of you guys think, oh, I just need to get in front of them. Just talk to a very confident salesperson. All I need to do is get in front of them. The funny thing is he's been in front of 4 companies and still hasn't made it to a second round. So that's not the actual problem. It's the ego, first off, is the problem. But number 2, it's the problem isn't you just need to get in front of them because you've always sold yourself and you made it $80,000, even $100,000 before, and oh, I'll be fine. This is a different game. What people don't understand is the average rep's going to make $177,000. There's people making commission checks that are more than most people make in a year. They get a car paid for, they get insurance, they get to work with doctors, which if you watch Dr. Blackwood, has 10 businesses, AKA you're not dealing with a bunch of just simple human beings. You're dealing with the most intelligent human beings who financially usually do well and get you in circles that will change your life forever. And so that's what I want everybody to think about as you go through this process. And Cassandra, I just want to say to you, it has been so much fun watching your journey, watching you continue to mature throughout this process, and know that this is just the beginning for you because you now work at an amazing company in an amazing division, and you're going to go make such a big impact. And financially, you changed yours and your family's life, and it's only the beginning. And this is the least amount of money you're about to ever make, and you're about to go live it up. So I just want to say congratulations from me to you, and it's been so honoring and so thankful to have great human beings like you come and join our program and now see where you're at now.
Thank you so much. And you know what? We did it. We made it.
We did it. We made it on the podcast just like
Yes,
you wanted to at the beginning,
like
and here we are.
You know, just like I had envisioned. And it's actually, I know we're wrapping, but it's actually kind of wild because the whole time I was thinking about what I was going to say. And from our first conversation, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be on a podcast and I'm going to talk about how, look at me, I'm a full-line rep and I proved all these haters wrong. Like I was, you know, it was going to be just puffed up and full of pride and all about me. Mm-hmm. And now I get to actually be here and it's all about him.
I love it.
He made it happen. He brought me here to be here in this moment to hopefully encourage someone out there that's struggling like I was. And you know, there's always hope. As long as there is breath in your lungs. If you woke up this morning, there's hope.
There's a reason for it. And again, just congratulations. And just so you guys know, I know somebody watched this and got a lot of encouragement from you, Cassandra. So again, thank you. And if you guys want to learn more, you want to be like Cassandra, breaking into medical device sales well over 6 figures, click the link below. Just understand from us, you guys, we just want to continue to help you. We want you guys to go live your best life, because I will sit here and tell you, as someone who moved out here with $1,200 to their name and put peanut butter back, which is a big thing to say for me, and to go into med device sales where it changed my life. And now every single day I get to watch people just like Cassandra come in. We get to help them, mature them, get them into a place to now they change their own life, their family life. Like there's literally nothing better. So if you guys want to do that, click the link below. But otherwise, keep going after your dreams. Just know it's possible. And we'll see you on the next one. Peace.